whoever proposed this idea to us, I love you. You see, I'm gonna assume that what you meant by this was fusion in the sense of Dragon Ball. Fusion is one of my favorite techniques to come out of that series. There are two ways to do it, one with a dance and one with a special set of earrings called Potara. Depending on what you use depends on your result. In Goku and Vegeta's case, the dance resulted in Gogeta, while Potara resulted in Vegito. Personally, I liked Vegito more, but that's beside the point. I'm just nerding out that I get to write about one of my favorite techniques in a Naruto What If. But anyway, for this video, I believe that I'll use Potara, as Potara would probably match what I'm looking for a little bit better. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, one more thing I should probably get out of the way. I'm going to slightly alter the way that Potara fusion works for this video. You see, in the past, it was believed that Goku and Vegeta would remain fused forever. I'm sure you've heard of the Potara retcon that indicated that they remained fused indefinitely except for inside of Buu. This was retconned, or supposedly retconned, into an hour limit during the Goku Black Saga of Super.
Truth is, it's only permanent if a Supreme Kai is involved. Otherwise, it only lasts an hour.
Though it should be noted that Goku was the one who proposed that it had to do with Buu, but then he later himself cast doubt upon it when he knew that Gotenks was still fused while inside of Buu, indicating that this might not have actually been a retcon. But that's beside the point. To spare you from me turning this into a theory video about Potara, I'm simply going to say that I plan to use pre-retcon Potara fusion, even though I don't recognize it personally as a retcon. That means that when Naruto and Sasuke utilize this fusion technique, it will be permanent unless certain criteria are met. I just think that would be funner. Now, slight apology for making you all wait, I just thought I owed you an explanation as to the mechanics I'd be using to tell this story. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get down to it. You can never understand what I go through. This was one of the more common phrases uttered between the two boys. So similar, yet so different, equal and opposites, like night and day, yet their circumstances were so similar. Trauma was more than an event, it was a question posed. Live in darkness or live in spite of darkness? Sasuke had always lived in darkness, though it was not that he could never find joy. Naruto had always chosen to live in joy, though that was not to say that he never saw or was never affected by the darkness. Just as Yin possessed a single white eye, Yang possessed a black one. More alike than they seemed, their differences contrasted between them in a way that made them seem like there was a barrier separating one from the other, when in reality there was nothing separating them. These were the thoughts passing through a certain analytical mind as he hovered above the village, watching the two squabble. A demon of the demon realm, Fu had never known that there were existences beyond his own. He had known that in the vast multiverse there were infinite possibilities, but he simply never questioned that there were possibilities beyond the possibilities. A simple shonen jumping from one impossible world to another seemed both equally inconceivable and definitely possible. This new expansion of possibilities completely blew Fu's mind, as now he had a whole new world to play with. A new timeline to utterly screw up just for the hell of it, just to see what would happen, how they would grow, how much energy might be created from this timeline. But how am I to choose? He shouted as he gripped his head in dramatic confusion, a bit of ADHD being present within his mannerisms. Through his head, a million different possibilities echoed. He knew very little of this world, so how could he simply edit a single event and know it would do anything? That was unless he offered something beyond this world. Something that he knew could never have been used. But what? That was when a stroke of genius flashed through his mind. Those ultimate warriors, the ones who merely in the first of the line of Super Saiyan transformations could transcend even gods. Gogeta, Vegito. I wonder what could happen if this were to happen here. He looked down upon the two. Fire and ice, the contrast between them, yet the similarities. The conditions were perfect for the ultimate fusion. Just similar enough to be compatible, but also enough difference that their power would generate a spark that would continue to grow based solely upon how much they disliked being one-upped by each other. A perfect rival boost. That settles it. Potara it is. Pulling a pair of items from his pocket, he looked at them. 2 green orbs, like little pieces of green apple candy dangling from a chain of gold. Fu smiled. He looked down on the two as they bickered in the woods. He held out his hands as the 2 earrings dangled from his fingers. "Oops," he said in a sarcastic tone as his fingers separated, letting the 2 pieces of jewelry fall from the sky. "Can't blame me, I just accidentally lost a pair of earrings. There's nothing illegal about that, right, Supreme Kai of Time?" Suddenly, Fu disappeared, intent to watch the timeline fracture from a different perspective. As the 2 earrings fell, Naruto was pointing at Sasuke. "You always say that! You act like you're so much better than me and I hate it!" Sasuke sat leaned against the tree, arms crossed. "I act like I'm better than you because I am better than you," he stated with surety, his eyes closed as if by that statement alone he won the debate. Naruto clenched his fist and drew closer as if he was about to escalate this disagreement into a physical altercation. That was until something fell from the sky. It hit him right on the noggin where his soft spot used to be. Ouch! Sasuke opened his eye for a moment. Whether it was because he was frightened by Naruto's sudden exclamation of pain, or because he just wanted to see whatever was causing him anguish, only Sasuke himself knew, but his eyes opened all the same. Naruto, standing there, looked down at the ground. "What's this?" he asked as he leaned down and picked up the 2 earrings. "Whoa, they look expensive," he said as he looked up into the sky from whence they came. He looked down at them again before looking around. "Where in the world did these come from?" he asked. Seeing nobody else, and knowing that nobody would dare come here without a purpose, Naruto continued to mull over in his mind the possibilities of it all. Well, he smiled. "They're mine until someone says they're not," he said. Sasuke scoffed. "You gotta take those to the lost and found, Naruto. They look expensive. Someone's probably missing them." "Finders keepers, Sasuke," Naruto shouted. "Just wait until I tell Kakashi-sensei about this," Sasuke said. "Tell me about what?" another voice asked. Kakashi showed up. "Look at these earrings I found," Naruto said as he presented them to Kakashi. Kakashi took one of them in his hands. He examined them. They were clip-on in nature, obviously designed to be worn by someone, regardless of if they had their ears pierced. But at the same time, they were made of solid gold and some unknown jewel. Perhaps an emerald. These had to be expensive. "I told him he has to take them to the lost and found." "No way! I don't know where they came from, but they hit me in the noggin, and I don't sense anyone nearby." Kakashi reached out. "I don't sense any chakras nearby either, but that doesn't change the fact that these aren't yours, Naruto. You'll have to take them to the lost and found." Naruto groaned loudly as he rolled his head on his neck. "Alright, fine, but not until I try them on." Naruto clipped both Potara onto his ears. "How do I look? Fancy?" Sakura was in awe. "Can I try one on?" Naruto took one of them off. "You look like a girl in those, Naruto. Take them off." Naruto looked at Sasuke. "Who are you calling a girl?" He walked up to Sasuke. "I bet you'd look even girlier than I do," he said. Naruto went to put it on Sasuke's ear, but Sasuke pushed his hand away. "Get that away from me, idiot. I'm not wearing girly earrings." Naruto began to circle around the tree. "What's the matter, Sasuke? Afraid of looking too sissy?" Sneaking behind the tree, he forcefully tacked on the earring. Sasuke stepped away. "Hey, you idiot, what are you doing?" Naruto began to laugh. "You look pretty good, Sasuke," Naruto said as he pointed at him. Sasuke clenched his fist. "Just wait until I get my hands on you, Naruto." Suddenly, the earrings began to glow. Sasuke's eyes cut over to them. What in the world? Sasuke was confused, and Naruto wasn't much different. Suddenly, they felt a pull, like gravity mixed with wind. Their feet skid across the grass and dirt toward each other. Naruto grabbed onto the tree Sasuke had been leaning against, all while Sasuke dug his fingers into the dirt. What the heck have you done, Naruto?" he demanded to know. "It's the earrings! Hurry up and get them off!" Naruto lifted a hand to grab at the earring, but suddenly he lost his grip. He flew at Sasuke, the two colliding face to face, mouth to mouth in the most awkward bromance kiss they'd ever accidentally shared. Sakura was both mad and terrified that Naruto once again stole a kiss from Sasuke that belonged to her. "Naruto?" They rolled across the ground against their will. Suddenly, the entire area was enveloped in a bright light that even Kakashi's Sharingan couldn't peer through. Suddenly, the two of them vanished, replaced with a single person. He had black hair that was spiked up and was wearing a black jumpsuit. The boy's face possessed the whisker-esque lines on the cheek, yet one of the eyes of the boy was a Sharingan, while the other was not. "What the boy questioned, his voice an odd dual harmonization of Naruto and Sasuke's. Sakura stepped forward. "Sasuke?" The boy looked up at them. Kakashi, barely able to believe his eyes, stepped forward as well. "Naruto?" The boy thought about it. Well, I'm both Naruto and Sasuke. No, I'm neither Naruto nor Sasuke. I'm Saruto? No, that sounds stupid. Nasuke? No, that's worse. Narutosuke. Sakura walked up to the boy, her hand raised back to slap his Naruto-like face, yet her eyes unable to pull away from the eyes that were clearly Sasuke's. I don't know whether I should slap you or kiss you. Bring back Sasuke, she shouted. I don't know how, the new boy spoke. Kakashi was befuddled. He approached carefully. Naruto, Sasuke, are you in there? The boy looked down. I think we are, he said, but at the same time we feel different. Not like ourselves, but not exactly like each other. We can't explain it. It's like we're a new person, yet the same old people we were before. This is so confusing. Our head hurts a little. Kakashi began to examine them slowly to ensure that they were neither a danger to themselves or to anyone else. I've never felt a chakra like this before. It's so strong and strange. I can't explain it. We need to take you to get checked out immediately. Kakashi and Sakura rushed with them to the hospital where they admitted the new boy in under the names Sasuke plus Naruto and Fusion in brackets. The doctors began an extensive examination, taking some blood and DNA samples. Kakashi would inform the Hokage about this, and both Hiruzen and various members of the Anbu entered the hospital. They couldn't be too careful. Hiruzen would meet up with Kakashi. Sakura was already in mourning, crying on the bench outside of the room. What's going on? Hiruzen asked. Kakashi brought him to the window. Who's that boy? Hiruzen asked. Kakashi held up his hand as if to present the boy like Vanna White would a letter on Wheel of Fortune. That is both Sasuke and Naruto. Hiruzen was shocked. What is this chakra? I haven't felt a chakra this large since Hashirama Senju. It almost feels bottomless. And there's a certain, I don't know how to explain it, senjutsu feel to it? Like an insane amount of nature energy has been absorbed. What's happening? Kakashi began to go over his eyewitness testimony to explain what had happened. He then continued on. The new boy, who seemed to name himself Saruto, claims to be both Sasuke and Naruto, yet neither at the same time. A new person. He possesses one Sharingan that seems to always be active, as if it were a transplant, yet for some reason it doesn't drain any more chakra than a normal one would. They've also detected tailed beast chakra in him, and the seal remains closed. So for now, there's no danger of having lost the tailed beast, or any danger of it escaping. But they are unsure of what happened, what caused this, or how to fix it. At about that moment, a medical nin walked over. Excuse me, pardon the interruption, but the blood tests have come back. Kakashi and Hiruzen both turned to face the medical nin. The medical nin continued. After some tests, we've detected genetic chimerism within the subject. Furthermore, various blood cells we've taken have shown to be B antigens, while others have AB antigens. The plasma has also shown A antigens. What does that mean? Kakashi asked. It means that the subject in there possesses two blood types. We're lucky it seems that at least one of them is AB positive. That means they're the universal recipient. If they had been an A-type and a B-type fusing, well, there's no telling what could have happened. Would the fusion not have just been able to handle both A and B antigens if the fusion had been that way? Hiruzen asked. The doctor shrugged. It's possible. I don't recall ever seeing a jutsu that could do such a thing as this. We should be thankful, because if the jutsu does not accommodate these differences, then we got lucky. Let me pose a new question, Hiruzen said. Can the effects of this be reversed? The doctor shrugged. We've tried every known method and jutsu. We even tried simply removing the earrings, but it had no effect. At this point, they're stable, but until we can determine a jutsu that can separate them, they might just have to live like this. Can they be discharged? Kakashi asked. The medical nin nodded. Of course. They should be kept under watch, though. Their condition is unknown, and while they physically appear to be stable, there could at any time be a breakdown. But besides that, we also need to watch out for the psychological aspects. Two minds mingled together like this to create a single being is a different kind of danger we aren't equipped to handle. At any point in time, their minds may begin to break down, leading to paranoia, schizophrenia, possibly insanity. So keep an eye on them, and they should be fine. Kakashi nodded. Not long after, Saruto, as they'd been dubbed, was released into the custody of Kakashi. Leaving the hospital, Saruto spoke. It's the weirdest feeling. It's like I've been around for years, yet only started existing today. Kakashi looked over at the being. Are the two of you in any pain? How do you feel? Physically? Psychologically? Saruto began clenching and unclenching his fists. There's no physical pain and no mental strain. I guess I have two sets of memories now, two histories, and while that seems like I shouldn't be able to handle it, I can. Both histories just make sense to me, and they both equally feel like mine, like my birthright. Like I own them. They don't feel borrowed or stolen. I guess the word to use is merged? They merged well. It's like looking at each history with one of two eyes. I close one eye and see Sasuke's history, and if I close the other, well, there's Naruto's. But at the same time, both are mine, and it works. Kakashi was trying to wrap his mind around it. So long as you can handle it, then I suppose that's okay. Kakashi then had them continue their daily tasks. He wasn't about to give them the day off. Kakashi did keep him with him to complete a few tasks, but this wasn't so much because he didn't care, but because he did. He wanted to observe them in a natural environment with various tasks to see if they truly were as healthy as they seemed. They were mostly quiet and focused, yet when you called to them, they would look up and greet you with a smile. It was as if the best traits of both Naruto and Sasuke were shining through, while all the worst traits of either of them were either suppressed or just gone. Where Naruto normally complained and talked all the time, there was Sasuke's focus, and where Sasuke tended to mope and take everything too seriously, there was Naruto's joy. If the two of them had been yin and yang, this new being, Saruto, was Wuji. Kakashi was beginning to think that he liked this new Saruto more than his individual students. They truly were like a brand new person. Still a little different, but also the same. They seemed to complete their tasks without a hitch, and their mind and body seemed to be holding up well, even under various amounts of pressure. As the day wound down, he took his 2.5-man team out to eat, and saw that Saruto ate well too. It was strange though, as what once Sasuke and Naruto disagreed on in taste, Saruto seemed to have no issue with. And the things that they both agreed were good, Saruto seemed to adore. That being said, their appetite was voracious. They ate quite a bit, enough for 2 people. Kakashi would subtly write down everything he learned about them into a notepad, keeping tabs on their actions and reactions to provide to the medical inn for the next round of examinations. After that, he let Saruto go. He told Saruto to go home and to get some rest. Saruto would, and Kakashi would follow closely behind. He was curious as to what action they would take. As they walked along, they reached a crossroads. To the right would be Sasuke's home, and to the left would be Naruto's. Kakashi just stood there and watched, wondering what they might do. They stood there silently for a moment in indecision. This was where they would need to cope with being 2 separate people in a single body. When forced to decide between something Naruto or Sasuke, what would they do? They stood there for a minute or two, mulling over their options. Kakashi assumed that they would go to Naruto's house since Naruto's personality was more demanding than Sasuke's, and Sasuke would be more likely to give in to Naruto's willpower sooner rather than later. Despite this, Saruto began walking to the right. Perhaps this was Naruto's curiosity, wishing to see where Sasuke lived, or perhaps he wanted to get away from the home that he always spent time in alone. Or maybe it was something else. Kakashi wasn't sure, but he went along with it. Saruto would go to the door and reach into his pocket to pull out a key. Naruto and Sasuke both had their keys in their pockets when they fused, and it seemed that just as their clothes fused along with their bodies, their keys had also fused and were now unusable. Sasuke would reach above the door to the top of the frame and would grab the spare key and use it to unlock the door. Entering inside, Kakashi would make his way to a new vantage point to see. Saruto would walk into the room and would sit his pack down before sniffing himself. At first, he seemed a little hesitant about showering, likely Naruto and Sasuke both nervous about sharing a bath despite having the same body. Kakashi was writing this down as well. Despite the obvious nervousness in their face, they seemed to grab some pajamas and head in the direction of the bathroom. Kakashi wasn't about to continue his observation at this point, so he decided to head home for the night, believing that they would just shower and head back to bed. Crawling into bed, the both of them laid back, looking up at the ceiling. It was the strangest feeling in the world. Both nostalgia and something being off. That was itself slightly maddening. The things that were once familiar, even to a point, still were, but they seemed wrong. This bed, which had once been shaped specifically for Sasuke, was not ready for his new shape, nor was the natural smell something he was noseblind to. Normally, people couldn't smell themselves due to the fact that they only ever spent time with themselves and their own particular odor. But now that Naruto was added into the mix, Sasuke's own part of his mind was slightly thrown off by his own particular aroma. It smelled too sweet. That was the best way to put it. It smelled too sweet, like flowers coated in sugar. Naruto had always noticed that smell and said nothing, but now that Naruto was in Sasuke's head, all Sasuke could think about was about how weird he smelled alone. To a point, he recalled it having a similar smell to his mother and father, and yes, even to Itachi. This was slightly unsettling, and as anyone who knew how the olfactory senses worked knew, these tended to awaken memories. As Naruto attempted to sleep, he began to dream. These dreams were shared by Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke was once again forced to relive the memories of the Uchiha clan massacre from beginning to end. It was super vivid, and that was all thanks to the olfactory system. The memory of Sasuke running home through the night, realizing that while the moon was out, it was not yet time to sleep. Despite this, the lights were all dark. It didn't seem right. Sasuke rushed home where he entered the building. Running around the back, he made it to his parents' door. Coming to it, he stopped, knowing that someone was in there. At that moment, Naruto was experiencing it too. As Sasuke's hand reached out for the door, Naruto felt as though his was as well. Naruto's hand was reaching out for this door. They hoped it was Fukaku and Makoto they had sensed in there. As they gripped the door, they opened the slides up, and inside they were startled to see Fukaku and Makoto lying on the ground dead. Standing over them, Itachi. "Brother, what happened? What's going on?" They saw the ruby-red glow of Sharingan cutting through the night. The sudden Tsukiyomi dream they fell into, where they witnessed exactly what it was that Itachi had done. Was doing. Managing to get up after such a harrowing experience, they turned around and began to run out the door, down the street. "Please, don't kill me. I don't want to die. Please." Looking behind them, they saw Itachi coming their way. "Please, I don't want to die." Rushing by at speeds only their minds could comprehend, on loop, every memory, every feeling, all the joy and happiness that Sasuke ever felt with his family. All of it. Naruto was experiencing everything that Sasuke had experienced. 12.5 years of memories and emotions were poured into their brain like a cup, filling to the brim and spilling over. If Naruto had a Sharingan to awaken, surely this would have done it for him. The confrontation with Itachi. "You're not worth killing. Not yet. Live ugly. Hate me. Seek revenge," Itachi commanded them. In that moment, Naruto sat straight up in bed, gasping with fright, falling out from under the covers and onto the floor. They stood and grabbed the kunai and gripped it tightly. Paranoia, the dream he had, all of it still fresh in their mind. Their breathing slowly steadying out, Naruto would place his kunai back on his bedside table and sit down, back against the bed. Naruto shook his head. They looked up at the clock. It said 2:15 a.m. It was the middle of the night. Naruto managed to climb back up on the bed. They looked down at the pillow and the depression from where he'd been laying. They felt the sweat on their neck. His damp shirt stuck to their back. There was no way that they could get back to sleep as it was now. They needed to calm themselves down. They stood again, slipped on their shoes and a windbreaker, and proceeded to head out. As they walked down the streets, they found them deserted, with few lights on. Only the wind could be heard. The village looked utterly and totally abandoned, not too unlike the Uchiha compound on the night of the massacre. Yet, despite being alone, Naruto felt as though they were being followed. Leftover paranoia from their dream. Without any other ideas, they decided to head for Naruto's apartment. Surely he couldn't have that many bad memories to conjure up while dreaming, right? Climbing the stairs to the highest level, they made their way to the door that was Naruto's. They pulled the key from under the mat and then attempted to put it into the lock. Once the door was open, they stepped inside. The moment they did, Naruto gagged, his hand put against the wall, trying to keep from puking. "I don't remember it smelling like that," Naruto said. It smelled like a used diaper thrown into a trash bag and then left out in the sun all day. Covering their nose, Naruto walked a bit deeper into the apartment. Just as he thought, the trash had not been taken out and had been left to fester. In the sink were dishes haired over with old food and mold from days spent without washing them. Perhaps longer, considering the appearance of multiple ramen cups in the trash. The living room was littered with clothes of every type, each one smelling like the inside of a locker room. "What was I doing in here? It smells like a corpse." Feeling as though they might puke, Naruto made his way into the bathroom where he turned on the light. The sink and the toilet both haired over with mold, yellow water and toilet paper standing in the bowl where Naruto apparently was allergic to flushing. Yeah, puking was gonna happen, but definitely not in the toilet. The very thought of that was making Saruto want to puke harder. Choosing the lesser of two evils, he puked into the sink. The best he could do after that was rinse it down the drain. Just being in this bathroom made Saruto feel like he was gonna catch a disease. Stumbling into the bedroom, hoping it was clean enough to sleep in for the night, Saruto was disappointed to see that it was not. While not as bad as the kitchen and the bathroom, it wasn't much better than the living room. There was a laundry basket filled to the brim. Naruto seemed to at least be trying in his bedroom. Why here and nowhere else, the Sasuke part of Saruto could never know, but apparently he was. If we ever defuse, I'm gonna clean this apartment from head to toe. I'm gonna die. He sat on the bed. The moment he did, the stench of sweat, sour like milk, wafted up. Saruto looked back and felt as though he could see the fog of stench rising up like a vengeful spirit to attack him. He shook his head. Screw this, I'm not sleeping here. He covered his face and began to briskly walk out of the apartment. Closing the door, he locked it behind him. At this point, he wasn't sure if locking it was to keep people out or to keep the filth in. Either way, he locked it and took the key with him. He didn't want anyone having the chance of finding it and getting in there. Even if they were robbers, entry into that apartment would be cruel and unusual punishment. Saruto made his way back out onto the streets. As he walked down the road, he wondered what to do now. Sasuke's apartment was a bust, and Naruto's was a public safety hazard, so where was there left to go? As he slept, his teddy bear pajamas buttoned up all the way to his black gaiter, Kakashi dreamed of lollipops, gumdrops, and bikini-clad women. Sleeping his best sleep under the watchful leaf of Mr. Uki, his pet potted plant, Kakashi was in heaven. That was until the knock of an unexpected visitor roused him from his paradise and dropped him back into the real world. Sitting up in bed, he rubbed his single exposed eye and looked at the clock. 3:30 a.m. He heard them knock again and got out of bed. Walking to the door, he opened it up. Saruto stood there. Hey there, Kakashi-sensei. Are we interrupting something? They asked as they couldn't pry their eyes away from the bears on his PJs. Only the best dream I've had in a month. What is it? Saruto stood there for a moment and looked away before continuing, obviously embarrassed. We were wondering if we could stay with you for the night. Kakashi looked at them. What's wrong with your apartment, or apartments? Saruto's gaze stared up through concerned eyebrows. He shook his head. Kakashi stood there, imagining that somehow the two of them were experiencing homesickness despite being home. Saruto continued, answering as if knowing what was on Kakashi's mind. Sasuke's home is full of smell and it brings back bad memories, and Naruto's apartment is also full of smell, but that's a different issue. Kakashi rolled his eyes as he turned around and walked in. Feel free to make yourself at home. I have a spare futon in the closet. Go get it out. Lay it down in an out-of-the-way spot. I can't be held liable if I step on you and go into the bathroom. Saruto agreed. Discarding their shoes and coat, they pulled out the futon and laid it down against the wall, out of the direct path of the door. Kakashi was writing something down in a notepad. What's that? Saruto asked. Kakashi looked back. It's a dream journal. I'm recording my dreams. Saruto began to smile. Kakashi looked back. I wouldn't mess with it if I were you. I have it booby-trapped to spray a sleeping agent in your face if you open it. In truth, he really did have the notepad rigged, or well, he did now that Saruto had mentioned it. But what he didn't tell them was that this pad was for recording their actions. He would put the pad away and lay back down in bed. There he'd get comfortable. Saruto was also getting comfortable, though his eyes were wide open. He looked up at the foot of Kakashi's bed. Thanks for letting us stay over, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi yawned. It's fine. But just know this. Tomorrow I'm buying you a can of Febreze, and I'm not doing this again. Deal with your own smells. He then immediately conked out again, forcefully trying to push himself back into the Playboy Candyland paradise from which he had originally come from. Saruto laid there on their back and proceeded to head back to sleep. They didn't have any dreams, at least none that they could remember. Getting up, they followed Kakashi out to get some breakfast because it seemed that Kakashi didn't like to cook or prepare any meals of his own. As they walked the streets, they were met with odd glances. It was as if people knew that Naruto was present inside of him. You can change your hair color, your wardrobe, and even wear contact lenses, but we know a demon when we look at it, an old woman said. Saruto was shocked. Contact lenses? He then realized that she was talking about his Sharingan. Wait, this isn't a contact lens, it's real, look. He began to spin the Tomoe within it to prove that the Sharingan was legit. "Whose eye did you steal then?" she asked. "Haven't seen that Sasuke boy around. What did you do to him?" "Sasuke? I am Sasuke," Naruto said. The old woman laughed. "Sure, and I'm the fired daimyo's sister. Get out of here, you useless urchin. If that Sharingan really is real, it only makes you more of a murderer." It was at about this time that Kakashi stepped in, displaying his own Sharingan. "I guess that makes me a murderer too, right?" The woman looked up into the cold, uncaring gaze of Kakashi. It was a stare that said he had killed many people. What was one more? The woman backed down. "Just keep that demon away from me, Hatake. It's bad enough that you fraternize with one as bad as him. Don't involve me in your antics. Nothing good can come of him, no sir." The woman then went back into her place of business. Kakashi watched her go, waiting a moment longer before turning back to his original course, leaving Naruto staring straight at the door, startled by the heartlessness. "Come on, Naruto." They both turned and followed after Kakashi, who led them to an old cafe. "This is my favorite place to get some breakfast. They have the best coffee in all of Konoha." He sat down at a table with Naruto on the other side. There he ordered a bagel and 2 hard-boiled eggs alongside some coffee, black. Naruto, unsure of what to order, simply ordered the same as Kakashi, but minus the coffee in exchange for some OJ. As the meal comes around, Kakashi manages to eat the meal without removing his mask, hoping that the trick would entertain Naruto, but in the end, Naruto is left staring off to the side. "Your eggs are gonna get cold," he said. As if somehow that was him asking for an explanation, and trust me, he wasn't. Naruto began to speak. "That woman, she was so mean. Why was she so mean to us?" Kakashi swallowed and took a sip of his coffee. "You have Naruto's memories. Why don't you search those?" Naruto sat there. "I did, but I didn't expect this. I didn't think it would feel like this." "I didn't think it would hurt?" Kakashi asked. Naruto nodded. Kakashi continued. "Loneliness hurts, Naruto. Take it from me. I was that guy who wasn't too far removed from either of your base parts. Like Naruto, I tended to be very lonely, not allowing anyone into my circle, but that hurt so badly. I lost my father and both of my teammates, and last of all, I lost my mentor and his wife. The only person I really have right now is Hiruzen, and I guess an old Anbu member who was in my squad, though I wouldn't say we were that tight." "And don't forget me," a deep yet excitable voice said. "You got me, my eternal rival," said a man in a green jumpsuit. Kakashi rolled his eye. "Yeah, for better or worse, I have Guy." "Don't be so blue, Kakashi. You know you love me." Kakashi smiled. "Like sunshine on a Saturday morning, I either run with you all day or avoid you like the plague and watch cartoons." Guy laughed. "Haha, as is the eternal springtime of youth." Kakashi continued. "Having lost everything, though, at the time, I was in such pain. And it didn't help any that people believed I stole my Sharingan and killed the person it belonged to. So I know how it feels. Neither of you quite grasped the pain of the other because you were too focused on yourselves. Now that you're both forced to focus on each other because each other is yourself now. Does that make sense? It hurts, but just remember what it was that Naruto did in all these situations. Try to smile, find the silver lining, and focus on that." Naruto nodded and began to eat. After that, they met up with Sakura. Together, the group would wonder if they still counted as a 3-man team or if they would need to add someone else. Determining that they did still count as a full squad, they made their way to the Hokage's office where Hiruzen was sitting. There, they waited for their mission to come down, and when it did, Naruto couldn't have been more excited. "No way! Our first mission outside the village?" Kakashi looked at the bill. It said that it was a mission that led outside of the village to a place known as the Land of Waves. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" he asked as he pointed to Naruto. Hiruzen nodded. "Yes, from what we can tell, he's stable and healthy, both physically and psychologically. That being said, we need to know what his capabilities are. He's strong as some of the previous Hokage, all the while he's untrained. We need to see what he can do with this, and better yet, what he can do when trained." Kakashi nodded. "When do we set out?" he asked. Hiruzen smiled. "How does today sound?" And that's where I'm going to let it rest for the time being. I had a lot of fun writing this one. I'm a bit of a DBZ nerd, and I just absolutely love some of the techniques and abilities from the series. Anyway, be sure to leave a comment telling us what you thought and what you might like to see in part 2. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. Until next time, peace out.